Salutations, welcome to the Critical Breakdown Podcast. I'm your host, Logan, and here's the other guy.
Hi, Mitchell here, at Sweet Tripod on YouTube, and I just finished the movie we're about to watch. It's actually a short series, but it really should have been a movie, to be honest, if you think about it.
So what was this thing we watched, Mitchell?
Vampire in the Garden. It was a animated short series, and animated to be more specific. One thing I forgot to tell you about, that I just remembered. Did you watch it in English or Japanese? Because I forgot to tell you which one to do, and I did English. Did you do Japanese?
Yeah.
I don't think it'll matter.
Not that much.
Let's just do this part really quick, because I only had one note for voice acting anyway.
Okay.
The English one was good. I didn't watch the Japanese one. Was it good or bad?
I mean, look, it's really hard to tell with foreign voices because I don't know if the intonation and the emphasis
is in the right places. Yeah.
It sounded all right. Like the actors were doing a good job, but I can't really comment on that.
Okay. The English ones were very good. I probably should have told you to watch it in English. My bad.
I'd have fought you on that anyway, because I have a rule, like I have to watch stuff in the language it was made in, because I'm a perfectionist.
Fair enough.
Like, I'm not a perfectionist, but I'm a purist.
I wonder if anything was lost in translation. I don't know. We'll see. Obviously, possibly. I mean, I know mine was translated over, but I meant like in the subtitles, because subtitles can be really bad.
Yeah. Sometimes
it depends. You know what I mean? So
I feel like a lot of stuff would have been lost in any translation. I'd be really interested, like, to know a foreign language and just go back and watch stuff that I like to see what I've missed, because there's probably a lot of subtleties you won't get unless you know the language.
Okay, I guess we should get started on everything else. I don't really know where to start. My two biggest things that have got in massive piles is character and plot, but they kind of weave into each other really easily because they're basically the
this
same.
Discussion, I guess, is going to be pretty messy. I mean, like I asked you, and you said organize it by episode, but I think we'll just end up doing it all in one lot anyway.
So the way that I did it is that I just did it like I do normally, but then when an episode ends, I put that where the notes are. Yeah. Doesn't really matter.
Okay. So you can lead the way.
Yeah, okay. I guess I will just do a general overview. I don't know if you picked up on this, but this thing is like oozing with subtext and like philosophical social commentary. It's actually crazy. Like it seems really simple, but the more you like go into it, or at least in my head, the more you go into it, it was like pretty crazy. Just kept going. I guess I feel like we should get the minor things out of the way first. So I'm just going to talk about. Should we talk about the animation, but then also the art style? I love when people call those the same thing.
Yeah.
So I thought the animation was like pretty decent. Like there were good fight scenes, stuff. It never looked very choppy. I don't know. The hair, I feel like it didn't always move, but it like as much as it would have. But that's fine, I guess. And I don't know if this is to do with the English dub, but there is one scene where she's singing. And it really doesn't look right. Like the lips don't match up.
Yeah, but I didn't notice that. So
it shouldn't
be the dub.
A dub thing though, if you think about it, because she was like singing in I think Russian or Italian or something like that. I don't really know. So it should be the same throughout all, because that was kind of the point, is that it was classical music. So I don't think they would have changed it. From what I can tell, music meant a lot to the creator. Apparently some of the names of things are named after musical stuff as well, Russian stuff.
Okay.
And then sorry, would you like to say anything about animation or?
I generally agree with you. I thought it was pretty good. I have a note specifically for episode 1 where I found some of the movement was a little stilted and not in a stylistic way, but I didn't notice that through the rest of the series, so it might have just been an isolated thing.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I didn't notice it, but I could totally see that, beginning of production, blah, blah, blah. It makes sense.
But animation was pretty smooth. I didn't mind it.
So for the general art style or art design or the pretty pictures, whatever you want to call them, the lighting throughout this was like really well used. There was like a lot of colds at night and outside, and there was a lot of warms in the interiors of certain places. It just, it was very good. I really
Yeah,
liked the snow effect. It was just good.
yeah.
I thought
No,
the army uniforms, especially in the first episode, looked like a little too simple. It looked like I was watching like Naruto or something, just because it was under designed, like it was too uh under
I think that
detailed.
works though.
Yeah, I mean I didn't notice it for the rest of it, and it was basically I don't think they changed much, so it might have just been jarring at the beginning. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, it works well in contrast to the vampire society because obviously the human culture is very cold and well, lifeless.
Yeah.
Ironically, yeah, I didn't
So
notice
I
that
like
really.
the general designs of the vampires. There's only so many ways you can do vampires, but I like the white hair, white eye thing. It
Yeah.
worked. Plus all their outfits and things.
Hmm.
Basically every background in this looked awesome. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it was. I mean, that is basically what a lot of high grade anime is known for, though, is having really good art design.
Hmm.
So, but I'm not taking that away from it. It is very good.
Yeah.
This is more of a little analysis of symbolism here, but when they go to uh why is my brain turning off? Oh, it does, when they for goodness sake, oh my god. Fine, right, yeah, sorry. I just watched this and I really like it and it sounds like I didn't pay attention. I don't know why I'm blanking on names like that.
That's okay.
But when they go to Fine's mansion near like the beginning,
Hmm.
it's like really warm and inviting compared to the rest of the entire thing through color and lighting. It's got like a
Yeah.
fire and it's that's cool. Oh yeah, and I don't know how familiar you are with Assassin's Creed, but
Not very much.
they stole this thing called a hidden blade. It's basically like the most iconic thing from it. I don't know if they
Oh,
actually
I
stole it.
recognized that.
I don't know if they
Yeah.
actually stole it because there have been things that are kind of similar in real life history, but obviously not exactly that. I don't care if they stole it though. That's pretty fucking cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was cool in this, like it's cool in everything. So I just thought that was funny. That's what it looks like to me.
Hmm.
Um, little other things. The score was pretty good. I mean, it wasn't like amazing, but it was pretty good. Which makes sense. It was based on music. I don't know how different the score would have been. I don't think it would have changed at all. Probably in the Japanese. I
No.
don't
Oh,
think
no,
it
no, no.
would
Of
have.
course. I
Or
did really
not
like.
just the score, but the actual music that they play as well.
Yeah.
So the track
Yeah.
list, I should have said.
There was.
Probably the same.
I think there was one bit of music they played during the road trip montage, which I didn't
Yeah.
really like. But
Oh,
other than that,
yeah.
I do agree
That
with you.
song wasn't like particularly good, as in like a song, but it fit
No.
the vibe. But I know what you're talking about. It was
Uh,
like, it's a song.
I wasn't really going with the vibe, so that song didn't really
Oh,
endear me
okay.
to anything.
I
I
really.
really,
Sorry, you go. You
sorry,
go.
I particularly liked, similar to the first Evil Dead, actually, how like the infusion of like really moody electronic stuff and the orchestral arrangements. Like I love that
Yeah.
kind of stuff, and it was done really well here.
Yeah. I could see that. That's good. I'm just, yeah, I don't know. I hate describing music. It makes me go crazy. I don't know. It's just good or bad. It's this terrible affliction I have. Um, so I'm just on some miscellaneous stuff. I know that's it's normally for the end, but the bulk of my stuff is with story, so I thought it made more
Yeah,
sense.
that's
You
fine.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, so I just really like post-apocalyptic. I said that really badly. Settings. It's like and it does it in a way where it feels like I don't know, it feels very subtle even though they're always using like cars and things. It still
Hmm.
feels like really old. Does that make sense? It's
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
of like a fusion between aesthetics than just post-apocalyptic. It's interesting. I like it. I like that it's
Yeah.
in like Russia and stuff. That sounds really dumb. But it all works together really well, the different elements, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. No, I agree with that.
Um, so I felt like it balanced action, emotional scenes, and comedy very well. There's only like a couple instances of comedy, but it does really help lighten the mood at certain points, and also makes you feel for things more. I didn't
Hmm.
write down any of the examples down, but yeah, no, I just thought that all of the different things it was trying to do and be, did it really well. Like I never felt like, what is this part? You know what I mean? I thought it all fit quite well together. Damn, I guess. Oh, I do have one. Oh, sorry. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, you kind of railroaded through everything, so I need to go back.
Oh God, I'm sorry. I said way too much at once.
No, I'm glad you're so enthusiastic about it. I don't really care. Just finish what you wanted to do, and I'll go through my stuff. I don't have a lot.
So this is just like a very small thing, but the queer representation in this is really good because, like, this is kind of hard to explain, but it's like incredibly subtle to the point where it doesn't even feel like it was something they thought about in terms of it being queer representation. They just did it because it was like, yeah, this will be a queer character and it'll be good because I came up with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's, I don't know, it's just very subtle in that way. Yeah, I don't know. It's good because I have no way to explain this.
No, I get what you're saying. I did like that, even though we'll talk about it later when we get to story and writing, but I didn't necessarily feel their relationship, but...
that's very complicated. I've got a lot of stuff on that, but yeah.
Yeah, the fact that they were so subtle about what sort of relationship this was made it feel a lot more realistic than it should have by rights.
Yeah.
Like, they weren't... it wasn't overt, whether it was a sexual or purely an emotional relationship, and I liked that.
I would like to clarify, I do agree with what you're saying, and I will get into the nitty-gritty of that relationship and how it's a bit weird, but very interesting. But I was actually referring to her original lover, who was an adult, when I said that. But anyway, but I totally get what you're saying. You're not weird for thinking that. It is like half that, in my opinion. We'll get into it. Like half romantic. We'll get into it in a bit.
Oh man, I forgot Momo was meant to be a kid. Oh no.
Yeah, she's 14. She doesn't really well.
Oh really?
Yeah, look, anime's never been, whether they're trying to be creepy or not, which this one I don't think was at all, but whether they're doing that or not, the art style to me just doesn't, or like the general art style never does ages like very well.
No, okay.
Like she could easily be 16 and you wouldn't be like, that's weird.
No, I thought she was much older. Okay, I just want to preface
also because
that
she has a job and military stuff, so she does seem older. Yeah.
Okay, I just want to be super specific there. I wasn't being weird. I did not realize that.
Look, it's actually, and this sounds weird, but it's actually not weird. Like, this sounds really hard to defend without getting into it, and we will, like, very soon. But it's like that for, like, a very small amount of time, and then it, like, fuses over to something very different. And, like, the line is, it's interesting. Okay, I guess we should just get into story stuff then.
Oh, hold on, I've got some stuff.
Oh my god, I'm so sorry.
That's okay, I don't care.
Guys, for the one person who's watching, I just want to say that I don't hate Logan. I'm not trying to bash him.
No, well, I hate you. You spoke for like 12 minutes straight and ignored me. You hurt my feelings.
Oh god.
Okay, like I said, I don't have too much to say, so... in terms of animation, there was one thing I didn't mention earlier, but there's a part where the car, it's their road trip vehicle, is drifting through the snow, and it goes way too fast and it moves awkwardly. I don't know if you remember that particular bit.
I do remember the scene. I don't remember feeling that, but like I could probably see it happening.
The way the car moved, it really broke away from the realism of everything else. It was like cartoonish.
My bet would be that the speed has a lot to do with the song and the vibe they were going for that bit, but yeah, it's not super realistic to have a car go like quite well in snow, especially one that wasn't built for it. So I didn't see the scene. It might not be that, like, it might look funny. I don't know. If it does, then that's a bit goofy, but I still defend this thing.
It didn't ruin the series for me or anything. It was just a bit distracting.
Yeah, no, had to be a pretty bad animation mix-up to ruin anything. That'd be interesting. I'm sure there's a video about that. This one animation error ruined this entire franchise.
Probably. At the start of episode 2, I distinctly remember there was some like really foreboding music, which wasn't really fitting the imagery of what we were being shown. And it's just a weird way to start off the episode because nothing felt particularly foreboding at that moment.
I do not remember, but
No,
I have nothing to say.
Just me being really nitpicky.
Yeah, no, that's fair though, to be honest.
I did mention, what was it? Right at the end of episode 2, there was a cool one-take fight scene, which I really liked. It was very well animated and choreographed. And basically the rest is story, so we can get straight into that if you want.
See, I have created a nightmare situation for myself because I have put, like, there's so much stuff involved with character and story that they're very intertwined. But I'm going to try my best to make this make sense, I guess.
Okay.
Maybe I'll just switch in between the two, but, like, keep it in the topics that we are talking about. Does that make sense? Like, if you're talking about one plot point and a character, you would, like, link everything together. We'll see how it goes. So I guess I have to get into, because I have a thesis for this, like, kind of.
Okay.
I would say that the entire story, it's not necessarily about, vampires can be good, right? That's not, like, the main point. The point is that people are evil, right?
Yeah.
But it's not just, it's for a specific reason. And they bring it up many times throughout it, and it's all about survival. Basically, I feel like the main message is that a lot of people end up becoming, in a sense, evil to survive in extreme situations, rather than like kindness over, protecting everyone and stuff. It's like the whole point is that life is a massive tragedy, just like the film series. It really should have been a film. I could see this getting a theater. It should have been in cinemas, is what I was trying to get at. But no, probably not. That would probably been really weird to market. At least over here, I feel like it'd be hard to market. I don't know. So yeah, that's basically kind of like the whole thing, I guess, is that everyone, because of different circumstances, becomes somewhat of a bad person, and there's all these different reasons. Like, the two groups are like, it's basically like, humans see themselves as like the good guys and vampires as monsters, but humans kind of become monsters in order to protect themselves. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, I guess I'll get into it. All right, so just getting into that. It's one of the first scenes, I think. Basically, that one soldier gets bitten by a vampire. It's like they're not named or anything. It just happens near the very end. Another soldier is like, "I won't let you turn into a bloodthirsty monster," and then he kills him, and there's blood everywhere. And it's like, obviously in this situation, it is the right thing to do to kill him. Actually, it depends if he would attack them or not. But right. Yeah. It's at least not completely morally evil to kill him. But at the same time, I do think this is like the first suggestion that we get where it's like, yeah, people aren't like the best, huh? Because he didn't really care about killing him, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then to get further into that, survival for humanity meant removing art, because they said that, music would like attract them, and also it's vampire culture and stuff. But basically, the totalitarian regime, because that's basically what the whole thing, it's like a military junta. What is it, Central City? I think that's what it's called.
Yeah.
But in order to survive, which is getting into how people lose part of their humanity sometimes to survive, in order to survive, they basically become like this authoritarian hellscape where like everything sucks, and the children work in the factories, and the mother sucks, and she's a reflection of the entire society and what they've become in order to survive. So it's also, feel free to jump in whenever you want. I'm just saying a lot of stuff.
No, yeah, I don't. A lot of my qualms are more with the writing, so I'm just interested to hear you talk about this stuff.
Okay, what have I got next? Right, survival isn't truly living. That's like the other point, and it's like what I feel like that's what part of why Momo leaves in the first place. Like, everyone's trying to survive, but no one's really living because no one's being kind to each other. Literally everyone sucks in this universe pretty much. Like, they're all selfish for whatever reason, or just cruel. That's another point. There's a lot of cruelty because there's a lot of tragedy. Just one little thing I noticed is that they, oh God, I don't remember her name, so I'm just going to always say Momo's mother. But Momo's mother, when they first introduce her, actually, she calls Momo by her identification number. But also I just thought it was interesting that they had identification numbers. Like, yes, technically the majority of societies have them in forms of legal documents and whatnot, but that's actually like what it seems like they would call them and stuff. I just thought it was an interesting little bit of dehumanization in order to feed the machine kind of thing, you know? Right, yeah, I just thought, and it's just going back into that, it's like both sides think that the other has to be totally destroyed in order for there to be, like, peace at all. Also, yeah, I already kind of mentioned it, but in order for this version of humanity to live, it's basically on full of war economy, and total military control. It kind of just sucks. I feel like I feel like a lot of it is a comment on authoritarianism, specifically Stalinism, but I also think it's pretty versatile. It kind of fits with most regimes, but considering it's in Russia, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I say it's interesting. I'm kind of hijacking your.
Yeah, that's fine.
Deviating a little bit from your point, but also how it explores what should be the middle ground, so the so-called paradise between humans and vampires. And it's really interesting that they wouldn't take the typical move of having this be largely, like a true paradise, but it is also built off cruelty and violence.
Yeah,
and
no, that's part of my that struck me very hard as well. It's like that is the biggest part of why it's a tragedy, is that it seems like these two characters are the only kind people that exist.
Yeah.
Right? And I do think that is a large commentary on what a society can do to people through what they're taught, right? Because both sides are taught that the other one is super evil, and of course on the human side, I think the human side is much more fleshed out. There was one major problem I would have with the writing is I think vampires' hatred of humans is very underdeveloped. My only guess is I think that they're superior, or the fact that they also kill them all the time. I don't like that's you know what I mean? That is the one thing that is underdeveloped in my the one major thing in my opinion. God, I completely forgot what I was saying.
I don't necessarily have strong feelings on that, but you could say that underdevelopment is another point in on itself, that like senseless violence.
Yeah, there is a big feeling with that. Especially because, these two groups we never actually see the main base together. They don't really feel like they're in that much of the vicinity of each other.
No.
They might be physically close, I guess, but, there's no reason to ever interact with each other. We know with the other cities as well, that you can just trade blood and gold. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then, as it turns out, at least for some of the vampires, like the brother, it is actually very personal, as it turns out, which I think is the interwoven trauma and tragedy of the whole thing. Because it's not just that people are, born in an evil way. It's all of their interactions with other people drive them to certain feelings throughout.
Yeah.
Except for the mother, we don't get any reasoning with her, really. She might just really believe all the stuff that she was taught. I'd like a lot. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right. So. Oh, right. Okay. So when Momo's mother finds the music box, the first thing she actually mentions is that it's vampire culture, not that it's actually. And I wrote that then because I paused it there. She actually never mentions that it's dangerous. They say it's dangerous at the beginning, or Momo says it's dangerous, but that's actually it's very subtle, but it's literally just propaganda, and it makes no sense if you think about it for 2 seconds. Because why would noise be a problem unless you're in a field mission? Because the vampires know where you are. You made a giant light beam. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It is purely out of hatred that they do it, not out of danger, because they hate vampires, so then they hate vampire culture. Funny thing about that, of course, is that it's actually human culture originally. And that is a whole other thing about sentience in this. It's like, I feel like, I'll get into that a bit later, but I guess, but there is like this very big thing of the two actually being incredibly similar, which, you know, makes a lot of sense if you think about it. Because, you know, vampire... Well, actually, the vampire lore on this one is a bit strange. I think it has something to do with the plague, probably, but it seems like, from certain flashbacks, vampires actually grow... They can grow as children. Like, it's not just that they get bit as children, it's like, Fina grows up near... Like, there's a flashback near the end of the... I'm just going to call it a movie, I don't care. At the end of the movie. And she is much younger, so there's that. Sorry, I'm yapping a lot, I guess.
That's okay.
Okay, right, so this goes into the more about the survivability aspect and how it's not really a life that's particularly worth living, because Momo's mother, during that fight in the first episode, basically says that I give you food and you have a job. What else do you want? You know what I mean? But like, she doesn't realize one, that that Momo doesn't even get her mother's love. Like, she's never around and she doesn't care, but she doesn't seem to realize. But also, and this is like another part of it, is I think personally, but also what the film is trying to get at here, is that artistic expression or recreation in artistic stuff, I don't know how to say things, is like a baseline part of sentient nature. Like, the fact that they don't have any art is detrimental to everything. Just like, I don't think the music box is just like a random thing. I think it's like very important that they don't have music, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, right. So during that scene, it's just like a perfect little thing. Momo almost goes to her mother and basically forgives her for being like slapping her and yelling at her, just because she is going to give her a hug, and it's like the smallest amount of kindness, which kind of shows how bad their relationship is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then the music box goes bing, and I love that because it immediately tells us so much about it, because it's like, one, yep, she wants to see outside of the world, see art, and then it, you know, connects to vampires and everything. But also, it's a literal call to action. Like, it is the... I just really love that. Like, without it, she probably would have just done that, and then you can see an alternate thing where she just stays there and is miserable. But it's like, there's a literal call to action, and it comes in the form of the music box. And I just really like that detail.
Yeah.
And then to add on to like the whole using love as like a manipulation tactic, oh God, please let me be saying this right. Fine. This problem is like, it sounds like I don't like this, but I do. I just forgot. I don't know. But when Fine is kind to Momo, she kind of sees it as a trick. Like, part of it is because she's a vampire, but I genuinely think it's because she's experienced so little kindness from other people that like she just doesn't get why you would be kind to anyone. You know what I mean? Or like why anyone else would be. You know?
Yeah. But it is interesting on that. In a sense, Fine's intents in her relationship with Momo are quite selfish in a sense.
Yeah,
because
I definitely agree, and that does get brought up later.
Not that it's a problem, it's just very interesting.
No, it is. It's a very interesting thing. Wait, am I being stupid right now? I am. I was reading off character when I thought I was reading off plot, but they all go in the same time frame anyway. So this is what I was talking about, things being a little confusing. Yeah, no, I guess I'll... no, I know how I'll do it. That's fine. Oh, goodness. All right. So as soon as that fight is over between Momo and the mother, she gets a call to do the military stuff, and it kind of just shows like the internal struggle between them. Like she couldn't even chase after her, not that she really wanted to, but like because she immediately has something else to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like a perfect illustration of why their relationship was never gonna work out, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
To further into the whole humans are kind of just as evil as vampires and stuff. This is during like the big fight when they try to attack the city.
Yeah.
So some vampires are like, "Oh, can you not kill us?" And then the humans are like, "Vampires don't deserve mercy," and then like try to kill them. I think they kill most of them. Then Fine comes in, but it's just like that's kind of a crazy thing to hear about something that is sentient. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But then that is, and that goes into the whole drive for survival and how that kind of makes them become monsters. Oh, I've got it great here. Humans' drive for survival, fueled by hatred, causes them to become monsters.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But then that is contrasted by Fine's wish not to drink blood, even if it's not like people aren't getting hurt specifically. It's just like an alternate thing where she knows it's bad and like or evil to kill people, and she doesn't want to do it at all. It's like a very interesting thing because you see this justification for death by humans, but then with Fine, it's like the sanctity and importance of life, which is also another big point. I think in the whole thing, in the whole thing. That's a terrible way to say that, but throughout the entire movie, a massive theme I think is the value of life.
Yeah.
Oh, and just to add on to that, there's another point about people. This is why there's like so much, in my opinion, symbolism in this. It's really great. Because when the vampires use that monster drug, that then takes their humanity away and just makes them complete monsters. But that then, of course, is also for desperation, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah. And then just to further on that thing about survival, Fine says to Momo, like, when they're leaving, like, when they're going to leave, it's like, you really want to stay here where life and death are one and the same? And I think that just perfectly shows how the lives that both groups are living really isn't much better than just being dead at that point, because there's nothing going on.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like death and work and conspiracy, I guess. It's great.
Yeah.
Okay, this is like really bad because I'm reading my notes, but then there's dead silence. I don't know if I can feel that. It's not
No, that's
good.
okay. You're not doing it for too long.
Oh, Momo literally has a nightmare about her mother saying like, "Come on, you gotta do your job and stuff." Like the night that she left, it's just like the amount of maternal trauma. It's just, but no, it's like it's really well done the way that it's compounded to throughout. Oh, so a great quote by Fine, which I do think basically encapsulates probably like the entire film and their relationship, is when I'm alone, I hope this is the exact phrase, but it doesn't matter. I find life easier because I don't have to hurt anyone. Now, of course, this is partly because she's a vampire, but it's also emotionally. And it's kind of how things go out through the entire film because everyone, no matter around them, and each other, like everyone gets hurt emotionally, and a lot of people get hurt physically.
Yeah.
Sometimes both at the same time. And that's kind of like, I feel like encapsulates the whole thing. It's like, people being around each other is going to cause pain inevitably. Kind of bleak, but, you know. One thing is just both Momo. I really don't know why that's her name. It doesn't really take away from the film. I just think it's a little silly, but maybe that's really culturally insensitive. I'll never know. You know?
Mm-hmm.
They both have like higher ups who are trying to control them. It's a little bit less obvious with Fine because it's just some random elders that we don't get much elaboration on. But obviously
Yeah.
with Momo, it's her mother and that entire society. It's just interesting because they do set them up to have a lot in common. Besides the whole her looking a lot like, oh, her name is Ari.
Arya?
Aria. It's like Aria or Aria. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, and this is just like a nice little thing. When they try to find Eden, it's very interesting because they're trying to find it physically, but Eden already exists within their relationship. This is actually
Mm-hmm.
compounded near the very end in that flashback with Arya, because there's like this little thing she says where it's like Fine's like, how could Eden be a thing or something like that, and it's like it's already. What do you mean? There's a pair right here, like it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they already are Eden, but then that's also true of Fine and Momo. But I do think it's for a different reason. I'll get into that soon. It's very interesting their relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I just found it it's like a very little interesting thing where it's like Fine needs Momo to sing for her. I mean, she might actually be able to sing. We don't know. A lot of vampires can, but it's just like this little thing where obviously it's for their relationship and the Arya's relationship, but it's just I found it interesting the idea that like humans and vampires would need each other in some ways for art. Like there's just some things that each one wouldn't be able to do in a certain circumstance.
Yeah.
Obviously, not true for all vampires because they sing multiple times, but I just thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. No, I'm gonna get into the relationship stuff. So the way I
All
see
right.
it, for the first two episodes, and this is basically what's said near the end by Fina, it's I don't know if it's specifically romantic, but it's more like she's reliving the romantic feelings she had for Arya,
Yeah.
because she looks a lot like her, obviously, and that's the whole thing. Like she's trying to teach her all these things, and it like that is what it is, and it's somewhat selfish. It's still a lot kinder than what most people have treated her, but she admits that it was selfish at the end. But
Yeah.
then it kind of it then I think this is about the time where Momo saves her when she's basically dying in the little tavern brothel room. And from there, because it goes from her pointlessly reliving that kind of thing to the point where she still doesn't have any purpose in life because I'm if I'm reading it right, I mean she's basically suicidal because she doesn't like it's not just about drinking blood, she just doesn't want to keep going. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? But then as soon as she wakes up and Momo's like, I got nowhere else to go, like don't fucking die on me. You know what I mean? I literally need
Yeah.
you. It takes a much more maternal role after that, and I'll get into more of why that's like compounded on. But the interesting thing, since these characters are built up so well, it's multifaceted. I think that for Momo, it was pretty much always maternal, even subconsciously.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you think about it, she takes her away from her mother. She teaches her about the things that her mother thinks are terrible and
Yeah.
illegal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She teaches her about music and about art and how to drive. It's like from her perspective, I think it was always like a mother figure.
Yeah.
But for Fine, for the start, it was just a pointless trying to rehash old things because of how terribly that went out the first time. But then eventually she realizes like that one that's like wrong, and two she gets a genuine relationship, but it's like it's very different than the original relationship. So I think it
Yeah.
takes on much more of like a mother daughter role, uh, eventually. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's the more important bit. I'm not going to lie, it's a bit weird. I do think it makes a lot of the emotions more intense and it does work really well. I don't know, like but the thing is, it is just a bit weird, isn't it? But it works really
Yeah.
well. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
It does make sense considering Momo loses a friend right at the end of the first episode, so it makes sense that Fine is subbing in for that. It's
Yeah,
it's like three different types of relationship in one package. It is very
yeah.
odd, but yeah, I agree. It
I guess I could
works.
just encapsulate like their love, as in like in general, like all kinds of love. If you think about it,
Yeah,
they have elements of everything.
yeah,
And it's like maybe that's part of why they're like so kind and stuff. I don't know.
yeah,
It's it's interesting. Kind. I don't know if kind is the right word. They're just like so willing to, I don't know, make more light. If
yeah,
that makes sense.
yeah.
I don't
Oh yeah,
know. I mean, she does say that. It's like Fine says that when she's dying, that she's been the light the whole time. So like you can't stop now. That kind of thing.
yeah.
I don't know. It's I am rambling a little bit. I'll be real, but I do. It's just the problem is I'm reading the notes, but then it's like I'm not saying anything. But
So, I guess from a writing point of view, you were perfectly on board with how everything was built up and structured over the series.
yeah, I would say so for the most part. I mean, this isn't really like a structural problem. I kind of just wanted to see stuff about the uncle faster because I thought it was interesting. I think the
Yeah,
brother is the least built up character, and I think he's probably the only problem. But I still think that his death has a good payoff, so I think it's fine.
yeah. I
But no,
just meant in
I'm pretty
terms
happy
of
with the structure.
okay. I felt like see this. I didn't hate this series. Just to stop you concerning about that, but I felt like I didn't enjoy it critically as much as I should have because I feel like nothing was given enough time in my eyes. Like everything was there, it just wasn't given space to breathe.
Hmm.
Like
I can.
I didn't buy their relationship really through until up until the end of the series because I don't think I was given enough. For me, I wasn't given enough background on either of them. Like you say, there's a lot of emotional depth in the series, and I'm not going to try and take that away from it. Like, there's a lot of good writing and build up to that stuff, but to me, that relationship specifically just wasn't given enough flesh. Like, the bones were there, just not enough flesh.
I can definitely see that. I think there are lots of little moments, and that maybe if you, this sounds like a bit of a cope, but whatever. I'm just going to say it anyway. There's a lot of little moments, and I think part of that is like the comedic moments as well. But there's just like lots of little things that compound their relationship for me that I think makes it believable. I do think at certain points, especially near the beginning of when it gets really dangerous, I can see what you mean. Like, why is she actually going through all this? But when you
Yeah,
think about just how different Fina is compared to everyone else that
yeah,
Momo knows, I think it makes sense. It's this kind of thing where you and I would expect like basic kindness, but
yeah,
I don't think she would, except from her friend, if that makes
yeah,
sense. So I buy the relationship. I do know what you mean though. As for the entire thing with the relationship being rushed, I feel like it works, and because they're constantly on the run, but also like I said, there's just like lots of little moments, a lot of the like
yeah,
the teaching moments stuff. I get what you
yeah.
mean, and I could definitely see that maybe being me if I was just a little like I don't know, but for me, I just think it worked.
See, it could be because you watched it all in one go, but I watched it as a
Oh,
series, so
yeah,
one
okay.
episode a night.
That'll
So
probably
maybe
that'll be it.
if
That'll
I,
be it. I
yeah, I
probably
don't know
that will probably
because
be it because yeah. I would
yeah,
think
I don't.
so. I honestly don't know why it is a series. Maybe it's just because watching an anime movie sounds weirder or something. Like I
I
don't
don't
know.
know.
Like to a general
I
audience, I don't know what like because it doesn't need to be a show. It's only
no
got 5 episodes and there's not like an intro or anything really. So
no.
there's not really there's like a tiny animation, but like there's not.
There were little bits and pieces which could have been cut to sew it all together. Like, it
Yeah,
definitely could have been a
it definitely could have
two
been
and a half hour movie.
a full movie. I think it
Yeah,
probably would be better for that.
I
But
think it would.
I think that's probably why, because I could see that if it's not all in front of you at the same time, it would probably start to fall.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
But at the
I
same
do
time,
actually think,
it is a show, so that is like a legitimate
yeah.
interpretation.
That's why I watched it like that, because it was structured as a show. I'm gonna watch it as a show, even if it's not the best way to watch it.
Yeah. So from that perspective, I would say that they kind of it doesn't really
And
make
I
sense
think
to be
that
a
would
show.
explain
It would.
how clunky their relationship feels, because it's like really jarring step by step from episode to episode. But if you were watching it in one stream, I could see it being a bit like a more
Yeah.
effective flower.
So I see that now. Like, yeah, thinking about it more, there is not much reason for it to be a show, and it probably did. Uh, it like it would fly. Yeah, it probably was. There's definitely
So
people that got a worse
I
experience out of it for watching it like a show, if that
I
makes
think
sense.
particularly I did write this down, especially like the road trip, how upbeat and cute it is. To me, that didn't feel right, because it comes right at the start of episode 3. So I'm remembering how grim episode 2 was, and I start episode 3 and it's really upbeat at the start. I feel like, and my thoughts were, this would be fine in any other circumstance, but I have to see like a lot of suffering to get up to here, and there is. I'm not going to say there isn't. It's really grim up until that point. And if it wasn't all in one go, that would feel more cathartic, I think.
Yeah. I didn't really consider that. I did just realize that's probably a good thing, but we have watched this in drastically different ways. I mean, I watched it all at once. You watched it over time. I watched it in English. You watched it in Japanese.
Yeah.
It's actually very interesting how much you can change about an experience depending on how you
Yeah,
do
man,
things.
editing is like crazy powerful. Like you don't
Yeah,
even really think about it, but yeah.
yeah. I've got to find my footing and what I was up to. I'll just get back into that. Uh, and then at that point, when the relationship changes over to a more maternal thing, it becomes this thing where Fine no longer wants to die, or at the very least is way more open to drinking blood to survive for
Yeah.
Momo. And I think at that point, they become the reason for each other to live. That sounds pretty extreme, but if you remember, when Momo's when she runs away, I can't remember the exact wording, but her speech is pretty bleak. It's like, yeah,
Mm.
everything sucks. I kind of just wish to go away, even if that like it, it could be physically to another location or literally just die. Kind of felt like
Yeah.
both. And then her only friend dies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So and then the same thing with Fine. She had nothing to go by. She was literally secretly depressed. Like no one else really knew about it. And she was just going on doing nothing. It was like
Yeah.
like a self. Yeah, it was a prolonged suicide attempt because she just wouldn't drink blood, which would eventually
Mm.
kill her. But then at that point, which they yeah, okay, that's at the end of episode 2, I think. Yeah, based off my notes anyway.
If you don't mind, I'll just quickly interject something about
Yep.
Finne. Um, I I don't know if this would have slowed things down, but I felt like, other than losing Arya, which we're shown in brief glimpses throughout the series, I feel like, unless I'm forgetting something, which is possible, but I don't feel like we got enough context for what was happening in her life in the vampire culture. Like you've already
Okay.
mentioned, we didn't see a lot of the vampires, and I think that was kind of a
Well,
big deficiency.
I kind of agree for the same reason why I think the vampire stuff is underdeveloped. But I do remember like a decent amount of instances of what it's like. It's basic, like near the beginning, she's basically just partying around doing all this stuff, but it's really kind of like, well, it's a
Oh yeah,
little attempt for her to feel better, but I think it's mostly about appearances. She's
yeah,
basically like she's queen, but she doesn't really want to be at all, and she
yeah.
just doesn't care.
Okay,
And then
I
there are the
did.
elders who want her back desperately. The reason
Yeah,
why that is, it's not super clear. I feel like
yeah,
it's this kind of thing where some elder vampires don't want to run things directly or something,
yeah.
you know? And
Okay,
there were like little glimpses into that kind of thing. You know, the vampires always wanted her back. They've already been through this whole thing when she was with Arya. and that's like where it's mostly about the brother though when it comes to the vampire stuff. So it is still underdeveloped, but I think there's enough for Finney.
Okay.
But at the same time, there could have been more, and I don't think it would have been
I
a
admit,
bad thing.
I totally forgot about that ballroom scene, but you're right. I do still think that wasn't quite enough for me. I do see it, how
that's fair.
she feels her life has become very like superficial, very gilded, but maybe we could have had a bit more there just to really hammer it home, because that was a pretty brief scene to me before we got into the action of Momo's life, which is very well developed.
Yeah, I can see that. Oh, okay. Just to like further cement the whole change to a maternal thing, there's when the vampire girl and Momo are dancing when they get to Eden, right?
Yeah.
It reminds her, and she gets a flash of Arya, which makes a lot of sense because it's, a human that looks like Arya and a vampire dancing together. But she immediately kicks that thought out of her head, which to me, I think she kind of shows that she's over that and she's trying. It's like a different thing with Momo, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not going to pretend like it's not weird. It's just the weirdest part to me is how well done it is.
Yeah.
To the point where I don't really care that it's weird. I mean, I care like a little in the back of my head. I'm like, yeah, this is a little weird. You know, man? Or a lot weird, a little, a lot, whatever,
Yeah.
But it really works. I don't know. It's actually masterful. I guess it's just like this, like the perfect thing of like complex, flawed, or like characters where like that makes it better. You know what I mean?
It really
works.
worked,
Of course,
because
it's very tasteful. That it's not like it's never really sexual at all. It's like purely romantic, or even just like the idea of being romantic. So I think it works a lot there. Even though in real life it would be grooming, but anyway, it works really well though for how weird it is. I won't lie. It's also real, like, I don't know. It's very interesting. I feel like I've said that 1,000 times now. There's only so many ways to express yourself. God damn.
May as well just give up now. We've used all of the adjectives.
Okay, I guess I'll go back into plot stuff, I guess, because I've been doing character for way too long.
Yeah.
You probably don't know this, because I don't know why I did it like this. It should have all been in one, because it's basically the same, man. All right, okay, so jumping back a little bit further back, I think. So Momo's uncle, when they're at the castle and they like try to take her back, right? This is episode 3. Momo's uncle suggests that she has been brainwashed by music and movies, and like that's like part of vampire stuff. And it's kind of weird because I had forgotten about it because I've already watched it once, but once you learn about his backstory, it's kind of hard to tell if he was lying, if he actually believes any of that. But I do think it kind of instills this greater world building idea of anti-art propaganda, but like to a point where it's like, yeah, even interacting with art will make you susceptible to vampires or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's more... I think his perspective comes more from his his tragic relationship with another vampire. And
one thing I would say is I wish that was explained better. I think I understand it, and I'll get into that later. But it is a bit brief.
But I was about to say how I think right at the end, near the end of the last episode, maybe episode 4, it shows Momo's mother not really comforting the uncle after he loses his girlfriend.
I think she did it low key. We don't know the details of why she and all the other ones went crazy. I do think she had something to do with it, because she's always been this cold-hearted bitch. But he was like kind of cool, and he was gonna marry a vampire, and she was like, no. And that's my headcanon, because they don't really explain it fully. But
I was just gonna say that kind of adds. It sort of adds to your previous point.
They're all mirrored characters. That's like it's. Very interesting.
That too. But how if Momo's mother represents like the blind vitriol, the alienation, the hatred of the other culture, the other side, how like she or that force is preying on loss and grief,
Yeah.
like really like
Well, it's very
susceptible
interesting
people.
because it feels like her reason for hatred is like very impersonal. It's like based off what she was taught, I feel like, from
Yeah,
what we get. But then with the uncles and with some other characters like the brother, it's incredible. The Fine's brother, it's
yeah,
incredibly personal, their hatred for it, to the point where it's actually illogical. It's like if you got like jumped by an Inuit or something, and then you hated all Inuits. You know what I mean? Like it's a very it's like the it's a tarot. I don't know why I said that like that, but it's like the it's like the most easy to disprove like virtue of racism. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Oh, something
yeah,
bad happened to you, and it was a whatever. You know what I mean?
yeah.
But like it is very strong emotionally, and it can like fuck people up if you think about it. And I think that gets more into the point of how everyone hurts everyone.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
goodness, I don't know if this was their intention or I might be reading into it, but it does feel like I feel like I'm getting the point. I think I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm in this guy's head. I can't remember his name. I did look it up, but
No, I feel like all the stuff you're mentioning is way too specific to just be accidental.
yeah, probably. Um, so I feel like there's like this just brief thing on the military-industrial complex, and just normal human stuff because the people in the military built these mecha things for what
Yeah.
purpose? I guess to fight vampires, but you got to
Yeah.
wonder what they're gonna do with that after the fact. Obviously the thing is that there's no other humans to like fuck with, but it does feel really dodgy, like a lot of military stuff can be like
Yeah.
especially when, and this goes to the next point, when that commander basically goes crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
he's just and that's the thing. It's like part of that greed thing. It's like even in times of hardship, and even though I do think that the mother, she's pretty evil, but she's probably like the leader that the humans at least need, or that they think best represents them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that one commander keeps trying to undermine her, not for the people, but because he wants to be in charge to the point where
Yeah.
he would kill a 14-year-old girl to get it, just to
Mm-hmm.
become leader of a shithole. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, people suck, man.
You could say the way that he's portrayed, which is cartoonishly over the top, like he has like it doesn't have like his tongue sticking out, so, and it's like a really raspy, insane performance. You could say that that little bit could almost spoil the severity of the moment and the theme they're trying to represent, but
That's
it
interesting. I
I
don't.
don't agree with that. I think it works
Okay.
because
Well, I
they
don't
are
really.
representing the
Sorry.
degeneracy of humanity,
Yeah.
and to go that over the top at that point feels right.
Yeah. I'll just say that I think in the English dub he was slightly less creepy sounding than what you're describing.
Okay, yeah,
But
it's probably just Japanese actors going a bit over the top.
but I think either way, from my perspective, I think that scene worked quite well. Sounds like yours did too. So
Yeah,
I think it works. Um. All right. So it's just about that town where it's like on one side it's humans and one side it's vampires.
yeah,
That kind of just compounds into the whole how everyone is kind of cruel and it's just like a sentience problem more than who's a vampire and who's a human. Because
yeah,
both of sides of that suck really bad. You know what I
mm-hmm,
mean? And there's
yeah,
no clear good guy. They kind of everyone sucks. One really interesting part of humanization, though, is when the brothel keeper cries while and stops attacking Momo.
yeah,
Uh, that was very interesting because for as foreign as all of that is, even the fact that he runs a brothel, it's not very
yeah.
relatable. But like I don't know, it really works because his whole life did just crash down, and you
And
don't feel
also,
super sorry for him, but it's just like wow, that's like a
but
guy.
it's also thematically interesting because his downfall was as a result of his greed. Like he accepted all that blood to let it
Yeah,
warm into
yeah,
the brothel.
yeah. That Yeah, no, you're right. I didn't even think about that. That's actually interesting. Yeah. The other thing you could say in kind of the opposite, but also same way, because I feel like you can be kind and greedy at the same time if the thing you're doing is kind, but you're doing it for a greedy reason. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, he takes it for the money, but like the money, the blood, but like he doesn't have to really do that. He could have technically just tried to steal the blood. I guess it is the queen or whatever, but what I'm getting at here is just to go with the more tragic stuff. Like, yes, he was greedy, and you could say like he might have been being punished for that. But if you go on the other hand and say he was being kinder than most, then he still got punished. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
I mean, those vampires really hate humans in that city. That
Hmm.
that relationship, like that was a maybe that part was maybe a little undeveloped too, because I
Yeah.
don't know, it was very interesting, but we didn't spend too much time there.
If it were, I, I get the impression what they were perhaps trying to go for was that the vampires are in squalor, despite their trade relationship with the nearby humans.
Yeah, I did.
Perhaps.
Yeah, no, you might be right. I didn't really pick up on that. I should have really connected the dots there, but you are kind of right because they say they have this blood to gold ratio, but
Yeah.
the vampires did say that they had like nothing. I should have picked up on that. I do wonder if that
And the
means they're being
humans,
manipulated or not. Well, the humans look like they have a lot of stuff. Yeah.
yeah, and particularly, well, we don't actually know, but Momo goes there for blood, and they act like they have blood. We don't. They could be bluffing, but yeah, you don't know.
Yeah, well, she breaks in and she finds a place that
Oh,
has
she
like
does have
10
blood. I'm
vials.
sorry, I'm an idiot. She steals the
Yeah.
blood.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
but
you're
like
right.
the thing
Sorry.
is, no, like okay, well, technically what you said is wrong, but I do think it's an interesting indication of like how much blood do they have? Are they keeping some? Do they not have that much? Do they actually have a lot?
Yeah,
Like, what's the relationship here that is like making the vampires have such a bad time? You know what
yeah,
I mean? Because that situation you think would work out for everyone, even if it's out of necessity and not
yeah,
love, which is also a very interesting thing because that happens, like you were saying, multiple times. With that place, humans and vampires are living together, but there is so much cruelty involved. You
yeah.
know what I mean? Because the
Could
the
also
humans
be.
that go over there, they're like blood drained, but there isn't enough blood apparently, and it's bad for
Yeah,
everyone.
yeah.
You know? And
That whole
then,
situation.
sorry.
Sorry. It's actually interesting when you think about it. I just realized this, but the three locations in the movie are kind of a spectrum of different societies. So you have a like a totalitarian society, more of a somewhat capitalist society, and then more of a communist.
What? Wow. Yeah. No, I didn't think about that. That's actually very interesting.
And fascinating that there's just suffering in all of them,
Yeah,
and the
that's the
end of the
point I was going to
series
get to.
is
Is it doesn't?
society is
Yeah,
fucked, nothing works.
yeah. Everything was incredibly bad, no matter where you went. Eden wasn't a full lie, but it was kind of not.
It was built
One,
on lies.
it was built on a lie. One thing I will say, it's like one of the only tiny little criticisms of things. This criticisms of the writing. The symbolism there is great. The fact that there's this little secret, this dirty secret, there has to be cruelty because nothing's ever perfect. Nothing can ever just be nice, right?
Yeah.
Them needing electricity that bad, though, I thought was kind of whatever. It's not been a
Yeah.
problem for anyone
Yeah, I didn't
else.
buy that either.
You know what I mean? Why is
Yeah.
getting electricity hard for them? I mean, yes, they're in a random place, but like they could, I don't know, there's generators. Russia has oil. I don't know. Figure it out. You know?
Yeah.
They also don't, if you live in a village, you don't really need electricity. What were they using it for? Lights.
No.
Like, that was the one thing that I thought was rushed or underdeveloped. That's the other thing that was underdeveloped. Didn't really make that much sense.
I
I
guess you
love it
could.
anyway because it was really is a great part of the whole thing. But yeah,
I suppose you could say the fact that the lighting or the electricity is so superfluous is kind of the point.
right.
They
It's
don't.
needlessly selfish and cruel. You don't even
Yeah.
really need it.
Yeah.
Oh, if they did that on purpose, that's great because it's like even in a society where every basic or even more than basic need is fulfilled, there will always be cruelty in order for luxury to exist.
Yeah.
That's really interesting if they did that on purpose. I don't
I
know.
have a feeling they might have. This is. I'm realizing this is a lot more thought out than when I first watched it.
Yeah, no, they very well might have. I don't know. That's that's a head spin, I won't lie. I didn't even consider that. So my next kind of thing, obviously this gets shattered later, but I think having that child vampire was like, it's a really good touch as the first vampire and first person they meet in Eden, because it's kind of this representation of the two getting along. Like, it's new life as a vampire,
Yeah.
even though we know that can happen with just vampires. But like, I like the symbolism there. Obviously, it's false. Like,
And of course, children
oh,
represent innocence as well.
yeah, and then that's that whole thing. Yeah.
I have to say, I don't know. Just one on that child, when she takes her evil turn, I don't know how bad it was in the English dub, but in the Japanese, it was really overdone. Like, even in the dialogue, she was too evil.
Yeah.
It kind of killed that reveal for me. Like, she's chasing
Okay,
Momo around the
yeah.
submarine, making all these evil quips that you're gonna be with me forever. It
Yeah.
just didn't work.
For me, and this might be the English, it's still not amazing. And I totally get what you're saying, and I did pick up on it just a little bit. Or like for one scene, I think it stood out the most.
Yeah.
Like a little too much. Wasn't too bad. I feel like it goes into I don't know, like that whole because Japanese anime, they have like a massive obsession with different tropes. Kind of fits into the yandere thing. I think she's like crazily obsessive about it, which you could actually say is like the opposite symbolism for what happens with Fine. She lets go of this toxic idea of romance, while this one is like latched onto it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Also, I think she's a fucking adult, because when she dies and you see in the water, I swear she looks way bigger, but it's for one scene. So
I didn't really notice that. It was interesting. I thought at the cliffhanger of, was it episode 3, when she appeared over Momo, I thought that was Fine, like she had miraculously grown younger. I was very confused for a second there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is interesting that she does look exactly the same. I know the vampires have a similar design anyway, but she looks exactly the same as Fine.
Yeah.
So which would make sense for that, like how they're mirrors. Well, not mirrors, but they're opposites of each other.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. Sorry if I was not doing anything just then. My computer was about to run out, so I had to go to a different room to charge it, and I hope this will work. Sorry, having a little difficulty.
That's all right.
Oh, right. This is just like another. It's not super important, but the humans say, oh yeah, that town was destroyed when the submarine went through, and there was a chemical reaction, and it killed everyone. So why is it safe now?
Yeah.
Like
that felt.
That
I
was
thought they
very
were going
random.
to do something with that. Like there was.
It might have something to do with the technology they were using to siphon the guy's regeneration energy, but it was weird.
Or the electricity they had, perhaps.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought with the chemical spill, I thought that was going to be part of a twist, like the people there were mutants, or there's some. Yeah. I don't know, I haven't thought it out.
Very much
going to be something going on.
Yeah, kind of throwaway dialogue.
Yeah. Like there's a huge war going on for centuries, presumably. There's just an abandoned village. Who cares?
Yeah.
You don't need to explain that.
Okay, so this is episode 4 when so this is when Fine is very weak and is at the beach, and then the brother comes and gets her. It was just very interesting where she feels like she doesn't have to be, like she shouldn't be there for Momo anymore because she's happy, but it's like what she doesn't realize, and then what is immediately realized when Momo tries to find her, I should have said realized to the audience, is that Fine is a massive part of what has made her happy after all the things that have happened to her. Like, she was happy with a bunch of friendly people at the place, but I guess she didn't. And that might, if you think about it, that might be because from her perspective, their relationship did start somewhat selfish and insincere because she was just using her as Arya. So maybe when she had a deeper connection with her, she kind of felt like oh, maybe she doesn't need me as much. Like, it's like an insecurity thing. Does that make sense? I don't know. I was just thinking about this turn where it's like they were fiercely protective, but then she, as soon as she gets like other people around, she feels like she doesn't have to. Of course, this doesn't really go anywhere because it's immediately revealed that those guys are evil. So, because everyone's evil. That is what makes a great tragedy all the time, though. So,
yeah. I just had a thought about the way Finney's relationship with Arya is constructed throughout the series. Again, unless I'm forgetting something, up until really the last couple episodes, all we get are really brief, vague glimpses of it.
Yes,
it's not
we do.
really explained clearly.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Well, technically... Sorry, would you like...
I was just going to say, perhaps, because when we get to the end of the series, like just before she dies, she explains her past with Arya. I'm thinking in retrospect that was meant to be a really big twist for the audience. Like, it was meant to put everything in retrospect, like, really evaluate her past actions. So perhaps we were meant to approach their relationship as friends and then mother-daughter. But then in retrospect, we realise that Finney was actually really selfish all along. It's meant to be an interesting coating on everything.
I could see that. Problem is, I watched it twice, so
yeah.
I don't
My problem
know.
was I was checking for the runtime of the series, and I accidentally read that little snippet, that little spoiler. So it kind of killed it for me.
That sucks. Yeah. I'm sorry to hear that. I hate spoilers. I also hate how easily people give them out. It's just like a little tangent I want to do now. So Invincible is an animated series on Amazon Prime. I don't know if you've heard about it. It's a superhero thing. Okay. Yeah. The comics have been out for years. Motherfuckers in the comments of like YouTube shorts about the series or even about the comics, it's like early comics, they'll just spoil the entire series for you and they don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? It's great. Like, I don't look at the comments. I haven't looked at anything for ages because I did it like twice and it's like, okay, yep, that's the entire thing spoiled, huh? Thanks. Yeah. I hate spoilers. Anyway. I guess we should get back to this.
Yes.
I think I'm getting near the end, but I still have a couple things. You know how it is.
Yeah.
So it's just like this little thing where it's Momo's uncle. And this probably has something to do with the wedding as well, if you think about it. He just knows that the mother does not really care about Momo that much. It's more about power. There's like this it's in episode 4, like near the end. He's like, we gotta save Momo, and he's like, yeah, you kind of just want your power though, huh? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I just like how there's someone that actually like knows that she sucks. You know what I mean? And then I already talked about this a little bit, but it's like the uncle, Finney, and Momo are all mirrors of each other. Finney's wife dies, because of hatred. And the uncle's wife dies because, presumably, of hatred. It's a little confusing. Yeah. You know what I mean? It might genuinely be like an in-laws fight, if you think about it. Like some of the other vampires and humans just like started fighting. Yeah. And it caused a full-on thing, but we don't really know. But it's tragedy, and the partner dies, and it's a cross, species thing. And then Momo represents like the love that both of them had, because she for their partners, because she believes that people can live together. You know what I mean? So they're kind of all part of the same, like all parts of the same idea. Like mirrored onto each other from different perspectives.
Yeah.
It's like with Finney, she's not over the idea. She was maybe like near the start. She wants it to work out, but she knows how bad it can be. Momo still knows that, but I think has more naivety about it. Like she thinks it's going to be easier, which obviously gets confronted in the Eden part. And then the uncle has completely given up on the idea. He thinks he's become like he is incredibly intelligent, has had a revelation for this, and it's all down to what happened at the wedding. He thinks anyone who even thinks that they could get together at all is stupid, and it's kind of like they put out. Well, it's not a full spectrum, I guess, but it's just like a lots of like different perspectives on the concept
Yeah.
of peace or coexistence, as it were.
Mm-hmm. I thought it was interesting. You keep bringing up tragedy, and I don't. This probably wasn't purposeful because this story is very, I don't know, very easy, very simplistic in its, I don't know, base formation anyway. But it's very Romeo and Juliet-esque when you think about it.
I do think that was probably an inspiration, if I'm
Yeah.
being honest. I haven't looked into it, but if you think about it, the weird age gap is all still there as well.
Yeah.
Um, no, because there's two rival families. They're also
Yeah.
both royal, if you think about it. She's literally a queen, and even though it's a military dictatorship, and it seems like it could be passed over to anyone, but
Yeah.
she's technically the daughter of the
Yeah.
leader. You know what I mean?
It makes you wonder what Momo's going to do after the credits
Oh,
roll.
did you see the end credits? The little end credit thing at the end?
Oh, is there a post
Yeah, there was a
credits?
little scene. Okay, I'll
Oh,
explain it. I'll explain. Okay.
damn, no.
So basically, it's very brief. It's just Momo has basically built up what looks like a very tiny Eden of her own, probably based off the principles and the feelings that she had with
Okay,
Fine. So it's all based on her stuff. So it seems to be good. There's like a
okay,
vampire baby she's holding. We don't know what that really means, but particularly, it's probably not hers. She's probably looking after it.
right.
And then there's a little voiceover from Fine, which I think is just supposed to really be for like the audience, not for anything, because she's definitely
Yeah,
dead. But it's basically like, I said we could do this. I'm glad that you did it, but like it's very short, but that's like the
oh,
point of it. I've
okay.
forgotten what it actually is,
I don't,
but it's supposed to be a somewhat nice ending.
I don't know if I'm
Um,
happy with that.
yeah, I don't.
I liked the ambiguity of the ending I saw without the post credits.
Yeah, well, I didn't see the point credits the post credits the first time I watched it. I don't think. The thing
Okay,
about it is I feel like it kind of works. I didn't really explain this, but like from what I can remember, it I don't remember if she physically looks a lot older, but it feels like this took a long time. You know what I mean? Like this is
okay,
what the rest of her life was about. You know what I mean? So I
all
think it
right.
works, but I get what you mean. I do get what you mean. It's annoying. It's like the I feel like it's like the Kingsman one where you kind of have to see it to fully understand it, even though that one was
Okay.
very
Yeah, yeah,
stupid.
yeah, yeah. I know what
Like,
you mean.
but like in the opposite
Okay.
way. Like it works
I'll go
more, I
back and
think.
check that anyway when we're done.
I mean, you still might hate it. It's not like amazing or anything.
No, I
I don't
don't
know.
think I'll because I was actually thinking today after I finished the last episode this afternoon and I thought I'm so happy they didn't go with the Hollywood ending where she does the obvious
Yeah.
thing and finally makes the perfect society. And I'm a bit unhappy that did happen because it feels a bit tacked on,
Well,
especially
we
if it's just
don't.
post
Well, the
credits.
thing it's so small that I don't really know if it's a full society. In fact, I don't know if it was multiple houses or just hers. I actually can't remember now. Doesn't look. It's not very
Okay.
impressive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I don't know. It feels, from what I can remember, it feels more like it's the start of something than the actual perfect society. Does that
Yeah,
make
yeah.
sense?
Okay. Yeah.
Like she's trying to get it to work.
Okay.
But
I
I
have
do know.
mixed
I do.
feelings.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's not perfect.
So I don't want to be a super cynical emo, but the entire series was really grim about its portrayal of society, and
Well,
it
I will. I can.
worked.
Oh, I forgot to mention that, but I can refute that, but also like at the same time support it. It's
Okay.
I have like a whole thing about it. I don't know where that is, but I could just say it instead.
Yeah.
So I think it's near the top, and I must have missed it. So the whole thing is that yes, society, all of the societies are very cruel and hateful, and a lot of their things are based off fear, and there's a lot of tragedy. But if we look at Momo, I feel like she justifies what is, at least in the perspective of the author, what the what the normal person, not normal. Why can't I think of the right words right now? it's like instinctual. It's the baseline. It's like what people are naturally supposed to be.
Yeah.
Is kind, loving, and I think they put a big emphasis on art being integral. Yeah, so all of these positive elements are basically integral to what sentience should be, but the problem is how other people hurt each other, and then how society at large throughout whatever it is, through whether it be the fear or the war or the whatever it is, ends up corrupting those ideas. So I think the idea is that through Momo and Fine's kindness, and then her continued kindness throughout, in the supposed post-credit universe, is that she starts to build what people could be, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like half hopeful, half terrible, because things could always just go to hell. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, so the vampire girl during that whole part has that whole thing where she's like, Momo, haven't you hurt people? There was blood on you. You must have hurt someone, which then, of course, goes into the whole hurting people thing. And then, of course, she does. She stabs her and then eventually shoots her. So she basically, that's like her only kill. But the thing that I like about that is it's not this like really basic killing people is bad take. And yeah, I know killing people is bad. But what I'm trying to say is it's really morally boring from a story point for your message to be killing is always bad. You know what I mean? But what it actually does is it reinforces the sanctity of life. There's so much needless death throughout the entire film, but she actually defends herself from someone who is basically unforgivable.
Yeah.
So it kind of just shows that yes, life should have a higher value than people put on it, both in our world and within the universe. But that doesn't mean that life is totally, like, completely sacred to the point of where it would do more harm than good to, like, leave people alive, if that makes sense. It's basically, I'm trying to say that it's a grounded take on morality. I don't know why I yapped so much about that. Oh yeah, so Fine becomes this is part of like the evil thing. She literally becomes a monster because she is forced to by the hatred and the hurt that they have put onto them. Constantly chasing them, hurting them. It's like a very literal version of what I think the main point is that the harm we do to others, just creates more harm, and that's why people are bad. Sorry. Goodness. So, yeah, I don't know. I just thought that was interesting because it's a literal version of what I think they're trying to say in a philosophical sense.
Yeah.
I also think it's very interesting because I think it represents something that is not really mentioned for the rest of the film, because there's this whole thing of losing part of yourself in survival. Everyone's a bit evil. The vampires literally turn into monsters. There's all these little things, right? But when it comes to Fine, she loses part of herself in becoming a monster for love, right? And I think that gets into it because it's not a pointless war. It's actually for something with meaning. It's not to say that it's a good thing to do bad things. Obviously, I think that's self-explanatory. But I feel like it's trying to say that there are real reasons to do terrible things, and even if they're not necessarily justified 100%, they're far better than what most of the characters are putting their lack of humanity into, if that makes sense. You shouldn't have to go there, but there are real reasons why you would have to do things like that, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so when this is like at the very end when Momo is walking with Fine's body, and the mother basically freaks the fuck out and then tries to use force to get her to come back. I feel like it just basically it just shows their relationship in it's such a great way, because it's like she literally could not even think to be kind to her. You know what I mean? The one thing that comes to her mind when she's completely lost control is point a gun at her daughter. And it's perfect at that point because why am I being so stupid? Finney is basically, you know, she just died. She did that whole speech about how much she loves her, and it's just like perfect kind of like maternal moment, right? Because she actually got all that kind of fulfillment. You know what I mean? And then to contrast that with the mother being so cold and distant and not really caring, I think it's just perfect, because she literally outgrows her, and she basically says that herself. You know what I mean? It's, yeah. Okay, I think I've got a couple more things. I'm fairly certain. Okay, it's really this is more to the harm thing. It's really sad but it's also like really well written that the uncle, like he was so messed up by the wedding, he literally like can't comprehend that Finney is not just like some mindless monster, and what they're doing isn't some stupid sham. It's like they actually care about each other. You know what I mean? Like he was so messed up by the wedding, and he had built this kind of worldview for himself. Oh, I just thought about that. That's probably protection if you think about it. Instead of being like, oh, I lost my wife, she loved me and everything. It's just like, nope, they were always monsters.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And even the over-the-top cool guy veneer
aesthetic,
he puts on.
Yeah. Yeah. I just thought about that. I feel like in every anime there's like little Japaneseisms, no matter where it's set. Because he just has a samurai sword, but this whole thing is in Russia. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is just kind of funny. But yeah, I think it's done really well. And then, you know, of course, it's interesting because he dies knowing that, but he doesn't understand it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Also, like, visually interesting, thinking the last shot we see of him as he dies, his face is consumed by the light of the open doorway that Momo and Finney are moving through.
Yeah.
Almost like he's being visually illuminated.
Yeah.
But most of his body is still in darkness.
Yeah. I didn't think about that. That's pretty, yeah. I don't know why I'm having such a bad reaction to that. I'm sorry. That is genuinely interesting. So the Finney's brother, I already said how he's a bit underdeveloped, but I don't know. It's his perspective is interesting because, you know, I thought that Arya actually betrayed Finney because that's what he said, but as it turns out, I guess that's just his perspective, man. That's just his opinion, because that doesn't seem like what happened. You know, man? But it was very, I don't know, part of me saying, oh, he's one note, but then the other part of me saying, okay, presumably little brother has to look after the queen. Well, actually, I don't know. Doesn't, but like, you know, he's looking after the queen. It's like a realistic character, even though it's very one note, if that makes sense, you know? And his whole thing is trying to protect her. And even though he doesn't really like Momo at all, it's like he kind of dies for her in a weird way, but because he loves Finney. You know what I mean? I mean, he's probably going to die anyway. Also, that scene where the pug comes up to the dead body fucked me up, bro. Yeah. That was evil. You can't put a dog in it and then make the dog be sad when the guy dies, bro. That's messed up.
It would have been a step too far if they killed the dog. You can't do that.
I'm not gonna lie. I watched this movie like a year ago, so I didn't know that the pug was his when I first saw it. I was like, please don't kill it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Man, when it got kicked at one point, I thought it was dead.
That is an interesting part of his humanization as well. It's a very subtle way of doing that because, of course, people like dogs more than they like each other a lot of the time.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's not much more to say about it. It's just like an interesting way to do it, and I think it worked.
Yeah.
Even though I found him to be annoying, I at least understood him. No, the guy.
What?
The dog's beautiful.
Okay.
No, pugs are an abomination, actually. I changed my mind.
Oh my god.
Genetic mistakes. Oh
That
no,
dog was the
horrors
best
beyond my
character in the series. Changed my mind.
horrors beyond my comprehension. Humans playing God. The pug. I love it.
Is that our Jurassic Park?
I mean, pretty much. They're really fucked up animals. We're gonna do Jurassic Park pretty soon, and it's gonna go just as bad as it did in the movie.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I have very little left, except I guess I'll just talk more about that whole tragedy thing I was talking about. So it's
Right.
like the entire thing is based in tragedy because a plague is what starts the end of the world. It's nothing specific. It's just kind of you know what I mean? It's like an
Mm-hmm.
unneeded kind of thing. And then, vampires and humans couldn't coexist. And then of course, to further that, both being afraid of each other, they grow increasingly evil themselves for survival, which I
Yeah.
think is tragic. To be so fearful of your enemy, you basically become them, at least to yourself. But like you don't really understand that. It's very messed up.
Yeah.
It's like if you look at a war from an area that you are not attached to, and like both sides are completely evil or something. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Right. It's like particularly tragic. That's the other thing. It's like the relationship between Momo and the mother. It's like, they could have had a great relationship, but she was too busy with her job and too heartless. It's like a whole, you know what I mean? And then the uncle's wedding. Arya dies. It's just like nothing ever goes good for them. But then the only source of goodness is their love and care for each other, which is a pretty good message, I guess. I don't know how to, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
I will say that for this hitting me emotionally, I got pretty sad when the pug was sniffing the guy, and I full on ugly cried when Finne died. I won't lie, and that's pretty rare for me. I don't really react that strongly to stuff. I didn't think I would because I knew she was going to die from the beginning because I already watched it, but nope, it made me cry again.
Okay.
Is there any other little thing that I have missed? Because otherwise, that's literally everything. I feel like I talked for 90% of this. I am sorry.
No, that's okay. Look, I'm glad you did because I obviously didn't feel as strongly about this. So it was interesting hearing your perspective because you've enlightened me a bit. One day I might try and approach this as a full movie and see if my experience improves.
Okay, one thing. It's interesting that Momo's mother is referred to as Sir by the soldiers. I don't know if that's trying to say anything, like the traditional gender roles, and like it is a military society, so like I don't know what they picked up. You know what I mean? But then thinking about it, if I know my Soviet history, they kind of were one of the first to normalize women in the army, but I don't know. Then a Japanese person wrote it. I don't know. I feel like it's saying something about society, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Something about masculinity and femininity not really making any sense, like it's not real or something.
Yeah.
Because she just got called Sir, but it makes sense because it's all about the job and the role, but that was to do with being a man and blah blah blah. I guess I don't think I have anything else to say. I might have missed something because I have so many notes. This is the most notes I've written for anything.
I have one more note I've been holding on to, and I want to discuss it with you because there are a few different ways you can approach this. But did you notice oh my god, I've forgotten the word now. Just like the symbol of the central army or the central group, like the emblem.
I don't really remember it, but what is it? What does it mean?
So it struck me because it was a double snake, like two snakes coiled over
I remember
each
that.
other.
I remember that. That's a Greek thing about what, medicine or something? It's like a...
So yeah, we use it as a modern symbol for medicine, but on one hand, like on a really basic level, I think the symbol we have today is the two snakes coiled around a staff.
Yeah.
And the fact that the staff isn't there, like the staff is I can't remember which god it was. One of the Greek gods uses that staff to keep the snakes like in unity. So the fact the staff isn't there is symbolic for the humans and the vampires being together but not unified.
I could see that, yeah. That's
But
interesting.
if you go a layer deeper, I fell down a little bit of a rabbit hole here, but it seems like those snakes originate from the myth of the prophet Tiresias. So, in the tale, he came upon two snakes who were either fighting or copulating. It depends on what you read, and he separated them. In some instances, he killed the male snake, and as a result, the goddess Hera turned him into a woman for 7 years. And after 7 years of living as a woman, where he bore children, or she now devoted their life to worshipping Hera, she stumbled upon a pair of snakes 7 years to the day after their transformation. And where the story differs is what their next course of action was. Either they killed both snakes, they left the snakes alone, or they somehow did the dirty to the male snake as a woman, which is pretty common for Greek mythology.
I love Greek myth.
Now, I don't know if maybe my first reading was where it stops, but I don't know if that's meant to mean anything in the context of the series.
I mean, I could
that myth.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't say much about that. I kind of can see some vague connections about the two different people transformation, love.
Yeah.
You know,
But like the transsexualism angle doesn't really fit in anywhere, so I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how common it is in all anime, but sometimes they kind of just use random symbolism. I haven't actually watched it yet, which I really should do, but in Evangelion, that's how you say it, yeah. There's just a bunch of Christian shit in it, like symbolism, but it means nothing. It just looked cool.
Yeah, fair enough.
And the guy who made it really liked it. Apparently that happens a lot in Japan because there's not that many Christians, so all the symbolism is just up for grabs.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Obviously, I know you're talking about Greek myth, but they can do the same thing with it. Okay, I guess that's pretty much everything. I mean, I could look, but I probably didn't miss that many notes if I missed some, so it's probably fine.
Yeah, alright. So you want to rate it?
Oh, wait, no. Did you manage to find a Doctor Who connection, or did you die on this one?
Oh, God, I hope you'd forgot.
You couldn't find anything? There wasn't, like, one voice actor?
Not a really good one. I could say Doctor Who has vampires.
Oh, my God!
It's not my best work.
I'm sure if you did enough research, one of the English voice actors was probably...
Oh, yeah, I thought to do that. I just forgot.
It's just a lot of effort, to be honest. You know?
Yeah.
Well, if you think about it, everything is connected to Doctor Who because time travel.
Oh my God.
Well, actually, there is that one. It's when the 12th Doctor has his memory removed and he's talking to Clara without knowing that it's Clara, and he's like, all stories are real. Stories are just memories that have been forgotten. So you could say that both Doctor Who and this story are actually real in the same expanded, not multi-universe, but multi-reality. Well, actually, if you want to be more specific, omni-reality, because it's infinite. Which is actually weird that they call it alternate or multi-dimension. Because anyway, I guess rating. Do you want to go first?
Okay. At the moment, I'm gonna stick it between a 75 and an 80. Could move depending on subsequent viewings. I enjoyed it, but my experience was hampered by the fact I felt not everything was given enough room to breathe. Again, could be because of how I watched it, but we'll see.
Okay. See, I was fluctuating between an 8.5 or a 9, but considering I cried that much and I also wrote all these notes, I'm going to have to go with a 9.
Okay.
9 out of 10, guys, not 9 out of 168. I don't know.
Oh, okay. I guess I'm picking the next one.
Do you have an idea yet?
Yeah, I have a few. I have a whole list of stuff, but it's just picking.
Pick one randomly, because we pick one randomly.
Okay, I know what you said about subtitled movies, but we're going to have to at some point.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Just
Okay, so just to be nice to you, I'm gonna give you one subtitled and two English dubbed movies.
at the same time. How's that gonna work?
No, so they're three different movies.
Okay, are they connected or are we just doing three random?
Yes.
Okay,
No,
okay.
yeah, they have to be related. Do you not remember episode 1?
Oh God, no.
Ugh.
Okay, that sounds fun. What are they
All right.
called?
So the first one is a samurai film by Akira Kurosawa called Yojimbo, and the other two are its American remakes. So the second one's technically Italian-American. A Fistful of Dollars by Sergio Leone, a classic western, and Last Man Standing by some other guy starring Bruce Willis. No disrespect to that guy, I just don't know, can't remember his name.
All right. I guess there's not much else to do. In the last episode, I said to vote. In America, I don't want to talk about anything that happened.
Oh man, I can't believe that episode was before
The election.
Oh, no, hold on. Didn't we? Was it?
No.
Oh, was it?
Oh wait, no. That was the.
No, it wasn't.
No. That was not Evil Dead. That was the one before. That was Kingsman.
Oh, Kingsman.
My bad. I didn't say any message about that at that time. I think because the election hadn't happened just yet. It was like or did it happen?
Yeah,
Who cares?
I think it did.
I think it did, but who cares because
I think
are
we were just
Australian.
ignoring it for obvious reasons.
We are Australians. If you want our postcode, it's B dolphin noise. Decode it, guys.
Is that going to be a link to a really shady dark web website or something?
Is there anything else we should do? I don't know.
No, I guess we're done.
Follow at Sweet Tripod again, even though I said that at the beginning.
Oh yeah,
I never upload anything, guys. It's the best channel.
Bet he might one day.
Yeah, if I feel like it.
If enough of you 11 people subscribe. All right, I guess that's it. Let's end this while we're still ahead. Goodbye, losers.
No, you cut me out. I'm saying again. Sayonara, suckers. On Z.
Oh, no, you can't do that. All right, goodbye.